always such a gift to work with you. It's always such a gift to be here. I'm so glad to be with you this morning. And you know you're in the right place, and that somehow you have at least a sense of what you need to talk about when everything begins to support that. You know what I mean? And that beautiful opening prayer and that beautiful music just support what I wanted to share, what I'm looking forward to sharing here. Oh, this is David's talk from last week still here, so if you'd like to hear that again, I'll be glad to read that again. I don't think I'm alone. I know I'm not alone in realizing that we are in the midst of, I mean, let's claim it. It's not something that's coming up. We've been talking about that. We're here. It's here. This is an extraordinary spiritual time. Do you feel that?
Yes.
Just more than any other year. And this is always a powerful time of year. It is for me, personally. It seems like major growth, which for me usually means major resistance, and major pain before I surrender to major growth. All of that seems to happen this time of year. And it's as we move to the winter solstice, as we move into the darkness, as we appreciate the harvest we've just gathered, and begin to look ahead and say, what's next? And it's always powerful. This year, for whatever reason, we have collectively chosen to make it even more so, thanks to the Mayan calendar and all of that. I was interviewed for my new book, which is coming out this week. Yay, finally. Called Kingdom Come. It will be coming soon to a bookstore near you, I hope, right over there. And I was being interviewed for that, and the interviewer said, so where are you going to be on December, whatever it is, 22nd? I said, I have no idea. And she said, well, what do you think the world will be like the day after? I said, pretty much like what it was the day before. I don't think we're going to, I don't think we're going to see mountains collapse or seas empty out. But I do think that we have chosen to mark this, not as an end of anything, or the beginning of anything, but as, I love the phrase that Joel Goldsmith uses, a parenthesis in eternity. Doesn't impede the energy, it doesn't get in the way, but it shapes it a little bit. It slows it down so that we can appreciate. And we have set this bookmark in place to remind us to appreciate the change that has already been happening and is going to continue to happen. But to also appreciate that this change is much more than we have believed it to be. The implications of it are much further reaching than we have thought. You know what I mean? I mean, you notice that in your own lives, that, wait a minute, I didn't know that this part of my life was going to be affected, but there it is. I've spoken here a number of times. I've spoken here on, on various aspects of the Bible and the book of Revelation in particular, which is the subject of the forthcoming book. And on Harry Potter, and on the hero's journey, and on unity principles. And I've always had this feeling that I really need to pull it together somehow, that I need to come up with a message that's me. I mean, David has the thought exchange, and that's, he's the thought exchange, that's what he is. I need something. And I've had the feeling that it was coming clearer, that what my particular message is, out of all of these various things that I find fascinating and that I love the opportunity to share, that I had the feeling that something, it was about to come into focus. Wasn't sure what that would look like, but I kept affirming that I'm willing. I started teaching Prosperity Plus, and teaching these principles. We brought Mary Morrissey in, the author of Prosperity Plus, and she's been a friend of mine for 20 years, and we had some time together, and I've had the feeling, again, things are, I can't wait to see what's next. What's next is I was fired. Not what I expected. Now, I have been teaching prosperity classes, either Prosperity Plus or 4 T's or whatever, for Keys to the Kingdom for years now. And people have come to me and said, I took this for prosperity and I just lost my job. Hello. And I have said with utter confidence, congratulations, because the job was getting in the way of your prosperity, and now you're free to find out what your true prosperity is. I didn't expect that I would have to experience that myself. That was for other people. I hate it when the universe expects that I might actually apply these principles that I talk about every week. But the guidance I got at the moment that I realized this was happening, because it was quite sudden and surprising, it was a board decision, and they had the right to make the decision. And my guidance was pay very close attention to yourself as you move through this. And as I moved through it, I was noticing, you know, as David teaches, how my body was reacting. You know, I was noticing the fear, I was noticing the outrage and the, you know, and the beginning of plans to overrule this, or I'll, you know, they'll, this is all very interesting. And the first opportunity I was given was the board said, let's, you know, we'd rather that you pretend that we all decided on this together, and that way nobody will be upset. So why don't you come in and say that you've decided to leave? And my ego said, oh yeah, good, I won't have to talk about being fired. And something in me said, no, that's not going to work. You know, so I said, no, I will not do that. This wasn't my idea. I'm not going to pretend that it was. You're making a choice, and I lovingly invite you to experience the consequences of the choice you're making. You know, so it was just amazing. I could feel the fear. I could feel the outrage and the injustice of it all, and the yes buts, and none of that was me. And none of that had to do, and I kept thinking, this is the next step. I know it is. And somehow, it isn't that I should have seen it coming and resigned, although, you know, some of the people that I'm closest to said, we've seen this coming for months. You haven't, you know, we've seen you get less and less comfortable with the limitations of that particular ministry. I didn't see it coming. And, you know, my wallet didn't see it coming, and there was a lot to be fearful about. And I simply chose not to go there. I chose to, and it's not like I'm a beacon of light and I'm an example of how to handle this stuff. It's just that I've been through this stuff before, haven't we all? You know, and I've reacted differently. I mean, I've never been fired. I've literally never been fired in my life before, but we've been through these unexpected challenges and these unexpected losses and these unexpected discoveries, you know, and I know how I've dealt with them in the past. I know how angry I can get and how self-righteous I can get, you know. I think I've shared here before that one of the marks I have about whether I'm on or off my path is if I hear myself saying, it's the principle of the thing, you know. Because the Christ in me never says, it's the principle of the thing. My ego always says, you can't let those bastards get away with this, you can't, you know, it's the principle of the thing. It's not the principle of the thing. What I've come to realize is my message. What has come out of this as my message, whether I'm talking about it from the Bible, from Harry Potter, from Charles Fillmore, wherever, is that these bumps in the road are part of the journey. We have this belief when we start any kind of spiritual work, but New Thought in particular, that if we get our spiritual house in order, then we won't have any more problems. And everything will be smooth, and we'll be prosperous, and we'll be abundant, and we'll be successful, and we'll be joyful, and everything in life will just sing hallelujah every morning when we get up. And no, people, no. And I mean, this is not going to be the most popular message on the planet, let me tell you, but the truth is that we are here to accomplish a spiritual work. And we don't accomplish that spiritual work by guiding, you know, through life untouched by challenge. We do our work by facing challenge and making choices that make those challenges a part of our creative process rather than obstacles to that process. That's what it's all about. And that's what the Bible tells us. That's what Hero's Journey tells us. These obstacles, these challenges, these dark nights of the soul are not a sign that we are off the path, that we're doing something wrong, that we need to get our act together. They are a sign that we are being entrusted with some very important creative work to do. And now the choice is ours. Can we react to these dark nights in ways that make them painful experiences? You bet. Can we react to them in ways that make them positive steps forward? Yes, we can. Yes, we can. People don't necessarily want to hear that the spiritual journey is not meant to be a pleasure cruise. It's meant to be a process of working through our challenges. One way that you know when you're on to something for you is that things everywhere start supporting it, you know? You hear a song on the radio and it fits right in with what you were just thinking about, those kinds of things. So this morning I was listening on NPR, National Public Radio, to On Being, the Krista Tippett spiritual program, which is absolutely wonderful every week. And she was interviewing today a woman whom I was not familiar, a woman named Renee Brown, who is a big 8 million hits on the TED circuit. You know, I don't know anything about, very little about all of that, but she's attracting a lot of attention right now. She's a scientist, a social scientist. And she did 12 years of research and work, and she made the most astonishing discovery, which many of us could have told her intuitively but it's good to have science, always good to have science on our side, isn't it? It makes us feel better about what we know to be true anyway. She discovered that the people who are most comfortable and successful with their lives are people who have one quality and lack another. The quality they have is vulnerability. Not something we're taught in school, is it? You know, a willingness to be vulnerable, a willingness to be hurt, a willingness to bump around a little bit. And the quality they lack, she discovered, is shame. To be able to be bumped around and not feel shameful about it. You know, not to feel that the ideal way to go through life is protected from all of it. I mean, how many of you as parents want to protect your kids? You know, I don't want them to ever be hurt. Well, if they're never hurt, they're never going to grow. If they're never hurt, they're never going to be accomplishing their spiritual purpose in being here. You know, we have to welcome our vulnerability. We have to be able to say, yeah, that hurt. You know, yeah, that was a mistake. Yeah, I sure screwed that one up. You know, whatever it takes. And to do it without shame. To say it isn't screwed up because I'm a bad person. It's screwed up because I made that choice and I should have made that choice, and now I'm going to make that choice. And I'm going to learn from what happened and move ahead. So there you go. You know, the most successful people on the planet are people who have first failed. You know, you're not just born into success and just move forward with it. That is not, I mean, you can do that in life, but you're not accomplishing your spiritual purpose. Now, we're about to enter into the season of Advent, and I love Advent. I love Advent and Lent. I don't know why that is, but maybe it's the Catholic, you know, those Catholic cells are still in there somewhere. But Advent is really important. It's not just how many shopping days till Christmas. It's what am I giving birth to this year? Because the first mistake I think we make with Christmas is to try and make it exactly like a successful Christmas past. You know? We all do that a little bit. You know, we get out, we try to create a happy Christmas from our childhood. Or we try to create a Christmas we imagine from our, you know, some sort of idealized Christmas that we think we have to experience in order to be doing this right. Christmas is much more complex than that. Christmas for us is not simply celebrating a birth that happened 2,000 years ago. It didn't happen on Christmas Day anyway. We're pretty clear on that. We celebrated on Christmas because we were already celebrating the winter solstice, and they just linked the holidays together. So that's why we celebrated Christmas. The reason this time of year is so powerful has nothing to do with what we're told. It has to do with who we are and with the spiritual energy we use to move through. And that's why, in some surprising ways, our best guide to Christmas is someone who hated the whole idea. And you have a zillion times already, and you will probably a couple hundred more this year, be exposed to A Christmas Carol and to Ebenezer Scrooge. And Ebenezer Scrooge is a perfect outpicturing of what we should be going through in order to make this Christmas meaningful. You know? He deals with this three ghosts, the ghost of Christmas past. You know? Looking back and regretting choices we made, feeling powerless over who we are now because of the choices we made then. And the ghost of Christmas present, which begins to suggest you could make other choices today. There are other possibilities in the world. He goes invisibly to his nephew Fred's party, and they are all playing games, and he realizes that would be a fun way to live, and that it isn't necessarily denied him because of his past. And then he's shown the future, and the future simply says, if you continue to make the same choices, you're going to continue to have the same results. And you're going to get to the end of a life, and people will barely recognize that you've been here at all, because you won't have made any difference, because you won't have accomplished your spiritual purpose. And then comes what I think is the most powerful moment in the story altogether, when he wakes up and he throws open the windows, and his fear is the same fear that we have so often. I've missed it. I've missed it. Now I've got it, and it's too late. And he asks the boy in the street, what day is it? The boy says, Christmas, duh. And he realizes he hasn't missed it at all. It's available to us the moment we're ready to experience it. The moment we're ready to give birth. We are pregnant with new possibilities. We've come to the end of one flow as we celebrated the end of the liturgical year. Thanksgiving is the end of one energy. We're grateful for everything that's happened this far. Now, we don't sit there for the winter and just sort of be in our gratitude. It's okay, now next, your next adventure, your next journey, Mr. Phelps, is going to be this, and you're going to be pregnant with this. And we try so hard to make Christmas peaceful and quiet and, nice. It was never intended to be peaceful and quiet and nice. So get over it, would be my message to you this holiday season. Get over it, Look at the first Christmas. Wasn't peaceful for anybody involved. Not anybody. I mean, there's Mary, and we don't know how many virgins Gabriel had to visit that night before he found one willing to say yes. How many virgins said, I'm going to be pregnant, I don't even get the pleasure of having a, get out of my bedroom. Get your flappy wings out of my house. I'm not interested in that. But Mary said, okay. And how many times in the next 9 months do you suppose she said, I am never listening to an angel again. I am never. This is not what I signed on for. Because how does it look to the neighbors? Everybody thinks I'm a tramp. Everybody's judging me because of my what I've agreed to do spiritually. Joseph, what are the guys around at the bar saying about him? Marrying a woman knocked up by who knows what, an angel? Yeah, right. That's a story we believe. And he's got his own. His whole image in the town is shaken by what happened. They both have to expand their concept of possibility, of divine possibility, to the breaking point. How can God expect me to marry a woman who is already pregnant with somebody else's baby? How can that possibly be the next right spiritual step? Well, it is. More will be revealed. Just trust and believe for now. So off they go. She's 9 months pregnant. They have to go to Bethlehem for a census. So she's sitting on a donkey, schlepping along, thinking, this is not what I signed on for. And finding that the only place they can stay is in the stable, and you know the story. Well, you know the stories. There are two versions of the nativity story, and they're very different in Matthew and Luke. But what I love about us collectively is that we don't care. You know, we mush them all together. The wise men and the shepherds and, you know, everybody is in the picture, although they're not in the same story. But that's okay. We like them all. I saw a Christmas display in Chicago once that had the wise men and the shepherds and Santa Claus on the roof of the of the stable. And I thought, well, sure, that's fine. You know, the little drummer boy's probably over there somewhere too, in the mall with his crutches. We just like to mish it all together, and we like the story. That's absolutely fine. But look at the shepherds. You know, leave your sheep and go into a stable and look at a baby. Excuse me? Do you know who I am? I'm a shepherd. You're asking me to stop being who I am, to stop doing what I do, and do something else just because some angels are singing a pretty song in the sky. You really want me to leave? What if a wolf eats the sheep? I'll lose my job. You know, do you realize the consequences? Don't you sometimes find yourself saying to God, do you realize the practical consequences of what you're asking me to do? I mean, do you realize? You know, do you realize that, yes, I have this freedom now that I'm not tied down to a church, but do you realize that I still have rent to pay? And the answer is yes, God does realize that, but He's not going to share it with us right away. You know, so it's about finding that faith. The wise men, wealthy beyond measure, they're going to get on camels and ride through the night following a star? Nobody in this Christmas story gets to stay in a comfort zone. Everybody is pushed to extremes. Everybody is forced to believe in ways they've never believed before. To trust in faith more than they've ever trusted before. So why should we think that we have the right to a Christmas that is just easy and quiet and peaceful? It can be, I suppose, but it means you're not doing your job. You know? You're not allowing this Christmas to be the unique birth of new possibility in you and through you that it is meant to be. That's what Christmas is all about. Are you willing now to give birth to something new? To not understand it, to realize that you're going to learn as it grows? I mean, Mary was a 15-year-old virgin. What does she know about being a mother? What does she know about taking care of a baby? She will learn. She will learn because she has the presence of God within her, because that knowledge is already there. We experience new things and we think, I've never done this before, I don't know how to do this. And the answer is, yes, you do. And you need to know that you do. And the reason this is happening is so that you know that you are larger than this challenge. You are larger than this problem. That you have within you everything you need. Everything. And it's time. It's time for us to truly claim our spiritual purpose. It's time for us to recognize that that spiritual purpose very often looks strange, to put it mildly, to the people around us. It's time to let go of, of what people think, of judging ourselves by how we look to other people, trying to impress our parents still, trying to impress the neighbors, whatever. It's time to claim our own power, our own unique message, our own unique work to do. And sometimes that takes us in some very surprising places. But it's always good, isn't it? Can you look back on your life at times when you have trusted and followed guidance? Can you look back and at any one of those points say, I wish I had done differently? But can you look back and at times when you reacted out of fear, out of shame, and can you say, I wish I had made a different choice then? I mean, it's all good. We learn from those choices and we move forward. But the more quickly we learn, the more easily we become creative energy that expresses as the kingdom. The title of the book is Kingdom Come. And Kingdom Come is what we're all about. Kingdom come here. Not earn the right to go to a kingdom somewhere else. Kingdom come here. Kingdom come to this life experience. Kingdom express through me into this crazy, crazy human experience as new spiritual possibility. That's what we're called to this Christmas. And we get there by stepping through the 4 stages of Advent, by becoming pregnant, allowing ourselves to be pregnant. Allowing ourselves to be pregnant with new possibility. We don't know what it is. We don't know what it is. We're not, you can't ultrasound spiritual pregnancy. You can't find out what it's going to look like. You have to just trust. You have to just be there. You have to be willing to give birth. Is it going to be painful? Ladies, you would know that better than we. Are we going to wish we hadn't listened to the angel from time to time? Yes, we are. And is it worthwhile for what we bring into the world, for what we contribute, for what we learn about how truly majestic and important we are? For a fragment of a moment, seeing ourselves as the divine energy sees us, seeing ourselves as expressions of absolute love and absolute joy and absolute power. Yeah, it's worth it. It's worth it. So for the 4 Sundays in Advent, I think it's given his sense of drama and theater, it's not surprising that Sean is coming back the first Sunday in Advent, the beginning of a new liturgical year. He and David are up at Unity of Greater Hartford this morning. I had Thanksgiving with Sean and David, as I have for a number of years now. And every once in a while, a couple times a year, we've done this pulpit swap. And I said, this is our last time. And David said, why? I said, because I don't have a pulpit to swap. I don't have one anymore. I'll just have to come down here whenever you're willing to listen to me. But I hope that'll be often.
Yes, yes.
I don't know what lies ahead for me. I truly don't. Except I have a book coming out on Thursday, I trust. And more will be revealed. But I know that I'm in the birth pangs. I know that I'm giving birth to something that is going to be, who knows, probably challenging, probably exciting, probably wonderful. I know that it involves being connected with you, because I have always felt, as you know, close to this church and close to each and all of you, and that will continue to express. So more will be revealed as we move along. What I invite you to do is to make this Christmas significant. Don't try to get through it by duplicating a Christmas past. Don't try to minimize the challenges that it offers. It offers challenges because by dealing with the challenges in a loving, positive, creative, and affirming way, we are creating the kingdom. We are helping that birth express. It's an honor and a pleasure, as always, to be here with you today. Thank you very much.